if you are in a negative or neutral mindset, you will perform to like 66% of your potential. 66%. Imagine the difference between 66% of a Dota player and a 100% Dota player. If we take 66% of my MMR, it's 4K. It's up like 4.5K. And the difference between a 4.5K player and a 7.2K player is staggering. I mean, that's like the difference between a herald and like a legend or an ancient, right? Hello, this is Alchemy Answers 63. I hope you like my intro.
You sound very enthused.
How was that?
That was great. I'm sure that
Anyway,
everybody who's listening to this in podcast form will not immediately turn it off.
yeah, I could go with that.
Yeah, it's good.
Getting back to it, copyright claims. We have a strike because we used a picture of Axe in the thumbnail. Oh, I shouldn't say picture. We used a picture of the model of Axe, the in-game model of Axe. That's what got me, is just that it was a thumbnail, and it was a there's so
and the
much.
whole video was claimed. The
whole
whole video was removed
claimed
from our channel.
I don't even know if it's fraudulent. I just think it's a gray area. Like, I don't know if we did anything wrong or if that guy did anything. Honestly, from the sounds of things, I'm just going to say it. That guy sounds like an asshole. I'm sure he's going to go claim a bunch of our videos now because I said that, but he sounds like a right dick because, you know, if somebody used a piece of okay, to give you an example, I was watching Wagamama's what is it? The camp that he does, and Speed is a coach there. So I clicked through Speed.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So I clicked through Speed, and I watched so Speed was in it or something. So I was like, oh, I want to watch this. See my boy Speed. So I'm watching it, and then I noticed that on one of their slides, they're like teaching people like, oh, here's the basics of laning or something. They used one of our entire thumbnails in the slides. As like a title page for their slide that they're selling this camp for like $2,000.
Yeah, where's my royalty, Waga?
Right, and it's like I'm not gonna go like claim that like, well, like, I mean, obviously that's a camp, but we're not gonna take a legal action on that. It's like there's no malice there.
No,
there's no malice. They're just Googling some images to put in slides to like help people at their Dota camp to get better. That's the thing, is it's so obvious that there's no malice to it. And that's how I see the thumbnail situation with us. We used what we thought was a picture of just Axe's in-game model. You know, like, it's a really weird gray area because Valve literally says on their site, like, you can use anything from Valve copyrighted games. You can't copyright anything that if you're using Valve games. Then there's like gray areas where I remember Pugna, they were saying like or was it Game Leap? They were saying that like
smoke weed every day.
Hey, thanks for the sub, buddy. The audio is copyrighted. You know what I mean? That was like,
right.
I need to move that so it's not right in the middle of my face.
Just put it in between us. That's like a good spot for Steve to dance.
Yeah. No, I need to move this up. Okay. But yeah, there's
like that. That's how. That's actually kind of an interesting point. That's how Game Leap and Pugna and all these like training sites get around copyright of a publisher potentially being like, no, we don't want you using any of the in-game footage. At some point, if a publisher were to suddenly say that, they just copyright the audio of the video that's instructional. So like the video footage could be claimed, but they would still own all of the audio, and then that's they're monetizing the audio. Like that's what they sell.
Man, in my opinion, that's just some bullshit to sell it to investors. Like
I'm sure.
I really think that if Valve didn't want Game Leap to do their thing, or if Valve didn't want Gosu AI or this like Dota Plus Overwolf, they wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Look at Dota 2 Lounge. Does anybody use Dota 2 Lounge anymore? That was the biggest thing in Dota, to bet on that. But Valve put their fist down. You know, the iron fist of Valve is hard and long.
There was also
pounds.
Nintendo. I mean, Nintendo literally was like super against esports and people making content out of their games for a long time, and have only started to recently open up
Right.
about it, I think.
But
And it's like really screwed them over in terms of like esports market share, I feel like.
I think it's a false sense of security to think like, oh, I've all my videos are fine and copyrighted because of the audio, and it's like it's all
Right.
based on Valve's game. If they're not going to do anything about it, but they're not going to do anything about it because it benefits them and because Valve is pretty cool. Like I think Riot is probably like a little less cool than Valve. I don't know, these days, hard to say really, but it's like I think most gaming companies wouldn't take down something like Game Leap or some YouTube channel that's, even if it's like a little sketchy, anything that like promotes the game and makes people want to play the game.
It's free advertising for them.
Exactly.
To be honest.
Exactly.
Like, can you imagine if there were no Purge videos? How would people learn to play Dota?
You know,
like that's literally the number one thing that people post on Reddit when they're like, "What should I show my new friend who wants to move from League to Dota or like learn Dota for the first time?" It's always just like Purge videos, or like occasionally we get mentioned these days. But like, if there was no Purge, how would anybody have learned this game?
Don't know. Purge is a legend, man. He's actually like yeah, he's such a legend. People gave him shit too for a long time about being like the Dota guy, newbie guy, you know? It's like he wasn't cool, I guess. People like pros would kind of like give him shit. And same with Merlini. It's like, oh, Merlini's not actually good. He's not a real pro. But then it gets to a certain point where they've contributed so much to the community and we've experienced like downswings and so forth that people are like, oh, please, we need purges. We need Merlinis. Like when Merlini left,
Right.
It's like, oh, this guy's a legend. But it's like, okay, well, where's all the people that were flaming him for being like a shitty pro all these years? It's just
Right.
when it seems like your game is having like a downswing and you're losing these like legendary characters. Like, okay, well, I actually don't want them to leave anymore. I liked having
Right.
them around, you know? Yeah. You don't know what you have until it's gone, I suppose. That's just a life.
Yeah.
A life
I mean,
problem.
all these people who are like, haha, Dota's a dying game, I'm going to go play other stuff. 2 years from now, if Dota's actually dead, they're going to be like, oh my god, there's no fun games to play. I wish that Valve hadn't killed Dota. They're going to be so sad. But right now, they're just like memeing it up and flaming Valve and flaming the game.
I gotta say,
Like-
man, I've tried other games and I have not found something that I would even remotely switch to.
Yep.
I have enjoyed like I enjoyed Sekiro, I enjoyed Dark Souls 3 that came out. Quite a few games, Smash Bros Ultimate, but I wouldn't like switch in main any of these. Do a shout out to Spain. We are all what? Stop, man. This Spain shit is so distracting. Viva la Alchemy. All right, Donnie, let's get into the questions.
All right, let's get to the questions. So, question number 1 for this week. Hold up, let me go back a little bit. Here we go. Let's see. This one is from Turnout, and he says, "Guys, my first month, so I may be asking question in the wrong place. You are not, sir. You are in the correct place. Do you have a schedule for replay analysis? Alchemy Answers. Kind of hard for me to watch. I live in Romania, even though I really want to do it, time zone and stuff. So, very basic question. Yes, we do both of these shows every single week. Alchemy Answers is on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific or 9 p.m. Eastern. I'm not totally sure how that converts to Romania because I don't know what your time zone is. But if you go to like World Time Buddy on Google, it'll tell you. And then replay analysis is on Thursdays at the exact same time every Thursday. So that is the answer for you, Tarnow. Question number 2 from Average Peen. Congratulations on your average size peen.
Honestly,
Hey, guys.
man, let me tell you something. Actually, I'm not going to go there. Sometimes it's okay to have an average size peen, though. That's all I'm gonna say.
Nothing wrong with average peens.
Nothing wrong with an average peen.
Not Dota related, but I know you were talking about other games. Hey, segue. This is a great segue that we might play in the future. Have you ever played Age of Empires 2? If you have, how are you feeling about Age of Empires 4 coming out next year? I have played Age of Empires 2. Have you, Jenkins?
No, I hear it's good though. I see a lot of people playing it.
Yeah, I played it just kind of like very casually
Is
a
it
bit.
an RTS?
It's an RTS, but it's kind of like a cool historical RTS where you like tech through various. I believe that this is Age of Empires 2. It's been so long since I played it. I used to play at like friends' houses and stuff. I don't think I might have owned it like very late in its age as a game and then moved on to Warcraft 3 pretty soon afterwards. But basically you like tech through civilization. You start out in like the Stone Age and you can like tech up to, I think in Age of Empires 2 you can get up to like maybe feudal Japan or maybe a little bit farther than that. I can't quite remember. And but yeah, it's an RTS. You got to farm resources and then amass an army, scout, like kill the other person's base and stuff like that. It's cool.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Am I excited about Age of Empires 4? Honestly, I didn't know it was coming out. I'm so like focused in not. I like never know when a new game's coming out that's hype, and I just see people streaming it on Twitch. I'm like, oh damn! I wish that I had known this was coming out soon, and I would have maybe started making content and gotten in early, so I would have been a big streamer.
Yeah, that worked really well for Artifact, didn't it? People getting in early.
It did.
Good stuff there. Good stuff.
No, but I mean, I would definitely check it out. I think I'm kind of past playing RTSs at this point. I just don't really enjoy the frenetic pace of having to manage like 600 things at once. I feel like my life is an RTS already in terms of how much I have to multitask all the time and like how scattered I feel. And RTS is just like give me anxiety all the time. But I don't know. I might check it out. I do kind of miss it a little bit just because microing is kind of fun.
Oh God, I don't know about that. It's weird how certain genres will. And I'm not saying this has happened with RTSs by any means. Maybe you believe it has, maybe you believe it hasn't, but certain genres just kind of fall off, and then they'll come back into style, just based on like people's preferences, just based on like the mass preference of gamers. Like Minecraft fell off for a while. Like for a while there's like Minecraft, Terraria. I think what was the other one? Spacebound Star. What the hell was it called? Space Minecraft. Well, which one was it? Oh God, Starbound. Oh yeah, Starbound. People were playing that. And then like all of that fell off. But then like a few years later, I suppose there were some updates for these games and they kind of blew up again.
Yeah, dude, Minecraft is like the biggest game in the world right now.
Is it?
In terms of popularity, I'm pretty sure.
I have no idea. I've been playing Minecraft. I actually have it on my right before this. I was playing on my Switch. Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like RTS is they're something where I think a lot of people are feeling that too, where you kind of prefer something that's I guess simpler in the respect of like micro and doing the kind of tedious bullshit. Because something like Dota, I think is a good example of a game that I came from World of Warcraft. So when I came in and started playing Dota, it was actually really easy to learn. And I know that sounds crazy, but in World of Warcraft, you have like literally 100 different spells on your screen and macros, and like all of these like rotations and talents. Like it was a huge pain in the ass to manage everything in World of Warcraft. And coming into Dota, it's like, man, I only have 4 spells. Are you kidding me? That's 6 item slots. You have like 20 in World of Warcraft. Like trinkets you can use, items that have cooldowns, like everything. So it felt like simpler, but obviously the complexity of Dota, like I should say like the nuanced complexity, because World of Warcraft, like it looks complex when you look at somebody's interface, but it's not really as complex as Dota. Dota, when you dig down into it, it's insane the amount of stuff that you can do when you're combining the simple mechanics. Yeah, depth, I suppose. It's breadth versus depth. Not that WoW doesn't have any depth at all. It's just there's a lot of breadth to it.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, I've been playing recently a bit is Heroes of Might and Magic. And this is a game that I grew up. This is like one of the very first PC games I've ever played.
I see we got an email from them, Donnie. Are they paying you to say this?
No. That is by Ubisoft too, but they're making an auto chess game. I might even be not allowed to say that because there's like an embargo, so I might have my key revoked. I don't care because, to be honest, but because we got these emails from them, I was like, holy shit! I used to play Heroes of Might and Magic 1, 2, and 3 so much as a kid, like when I was like 6, 7, 8, 9, and so I was searching to see if anybody had made YouTube videos about these games. And basically, what it is, it's like a turn-based strategy, like almost kind of like Final Fantasy-esque, like precursor game where like you walk around with like a hero and then you fight like neutral AI units and then other players, and you have like a castle where you build up a like stronger and stronger units, and you have to collect resources from these mines and like just move around this map, and you have a certain amount of movement that you can do each day. But anyway, I found that there was like barely any YouTube content for it. There's a lot for Heroes 3 because apparently there's like pro leagues for this. Even still, it's like very, very intense. Damn. Way higher level than I ever thought you could play this game at. And I watched a day 9 stream of Heroes 2, and he mentioned that you can still buy the games, and it's basically just like you can buy like this, essentially like a DOS box emulator that like creates like a DOS partition that then opens the game.
Old, eh?
It wasn't a DOS game, but they use this thing called DOSBox to run it now, and it's like Heroes 1 is not even full resolution, so it's like a square on my screen when I play it. And Heroes 2 and 3 are full screen, but they're like, it's basically like sprites that move across a static background map. Like that's how old it is. Jesus. But I'm going to tell you, I've probably played about like 10 hours of this game in the last week, and it is still so fucking fun and like still quite deep in terms of like how like strategically intense you can take it. But
are you sure you just don't want to get your key taken away? You're just complimenting them now in case they're watching, and you're like, don't take my key.
No, man, this was literally like the first game that I became completely obsessed with. I used to go over to my friend's house because I didn't have a PC when I was growing up. I used to go over to my buddy's house, and we would play it. Me, him, his dad, and his sister would all play.
His dad would play. Oh
yeah,
my God.
His dad was like the cool dad that like bought the video games, let us watch R-rated movies, like had the kids over for sleepovers so we could do LAN parties and stuff like that when we got older.
Yeah.
But the four of us would play, and it was like 1v1, v1v1 in an FFA or like 2-on-2, and we would play these like Heroes of Might and Magic games, and it was just so fun. Like that was like my first like competitive multiplayer game experience on a PC, I think. And it's like so much nostalgia, dude.
It's crazy they emailed us. They knew. They're like, oh, this Donnie character, this Donnie aka Elevated, looks like the type of guy to play Hero.
I'm sure they literally just emailed every single YouTube channel that has over 50k subs.
That's cool, man. I'm fine with it. I'm cool with getting beta keys.
Hell yeah, dude.
That's good shit right there.
Keep them coming. Yeah. Speaking of other games that people can play, Half-Life is now free. All the Half-Life games are free.
Is it?
Yeah, Valve released it today. All the Half-Life games are free until Alex comes out on VR.
Damn.
So I'm probably gonna have to play through those because I never actually played them. I've like watched a little bit, but never played them.
Neither did I. Wow, that's insane. Those are like some legendary games right there. I was that's like what created Valve, basically. I talked about this in the last stream, I think, of possibly applying to Valve to do like software engineering. And I actually was worried that they'd ask like, oh, so, what Valve games have you played?
Have you played Half-Life?
And I would just say like Dota, CSGO, just like their new games that are kind of, based on.
Right. Whereas
based on other games.
Where's Ricochet, man? Come on.
Right. It's like I haven't even played Half-Life. I mean, I've watched speedruns. Like I know like the story. I've watched tons of speedruns. I watch it every time they run it in like AGDQ. It's just
right.
I wasn't I don't think I was old enough at the time. I was like the younger brother, so I would watch my older brother play games. And I mean, I'm sure I think I probably watched him play Half-Life. Who's the G man? Yeah, you see, I that's the thing is I know the answer to some of the questions they might ask, but I would be lying if I said that I played Half-Life. So I think I think I'll legitimately download that. I'll probably play it. Okay, moving on.
Okay, moving on. We have Fazy, pronounced Fuzzy. Fucking guy.
Yeah,
Number 1. Say you get stuck. Does not matter whether it's at 3K, 5K, or 7.4K. You feel like over the course of many games, there is no real progress. How do you figure what is your primary issue? Because you are going to have plenty, and even the cream of the crop players can look at their replays and find a bunch of mistakes. But how do you figure which one is worth 250 MMR and which one is worth 100 or 1,500 MMR?
That is such a good question.
That's a really insane question.
That's such a good that's one of the best questions we've ever been asked. Because,
I agree.
Because
boys, if you're watching this is a full video for you to publish later on.
Okay, so if we're gonna, all right, let's think about this because this is a good question. I want to give you a really good answer. The very first thing, while Donnie's thinking about it, that I want to say is that one of the biggest debates in Dota, one of the biggest hooks that pulls you into thinking about all of the wrong stuff is the fact that people seem to think that all mistakes are equal, and they focus on the ones that are unimportant when there are much more glaring issues. And that, in my opinion, is the singular biggest reason why people stagnate at like 3.5K or 4K or whatever. These like average MMR players that have played for like 10 years, like we're all, we've all played this game for so long. I'm sure there's some of you out there thinking, oh, that might be me. That is like the biggest. And for some people, they don't care. And that's fine. Some people just play Dota for fun. But some people like legitimately can't figure out like what the hell it is that they need to do to get past that plateau. And it's because they watch replays and they've trained their brain to look at these same mistakes over and over again. It's the fact that we've played the game for so long that makes it impossible for us to see the important mistakes, because we've actually trained ourselves to look at the unimportant ones over so many years because of what content creators tell us, because of that one thing that one person said that really stuck with us, and then we kept repeating it like a mantra in our head. Because I'm sure that's happened to you where like, especially when you're a kid, like somebody says something to you, right? And it really sticks with you. And then you get into some situation, you think about it, you use what they told you, then it works out for you. And then because of that, it solidifies that as like a principle in your head almost. So basically what I'm saying is that we've played Dota for so long that we have these like certain principles, and we can't see past them. They're like a brick wall, and you actually have to punch out some of the bricks. And that's why coaching is good. That's why watching other people and getting ideas from other people is good. That's why having other people look over your replays with you is good, or looking at other people's replays. Okay, so I guess that doesn't get to the question. I'm just saying this is why it's a good question, because in my opinion, this is one of the biggest things that traps people at certain MMRs. So
yeah, I've got some good stuff if I can jump in.
Yeah, go for it.
I kind of off that point, like you said, not all mistakes are equal. And that's why it's still, as somebody who understands that concept, and there's a lot of people that understand that not all mistakes are equal, but there's also a lot of people that don't understand that. And it baffles me when I see people getting upset at players who like miss a CS or miss a spell in a fight, because like literally the only way to fix that is just to not miss the CS or not miss the spell. Like it's so simple, cut and dry. It's literally just a mistake that they can not fuck up the next time. But you still see people getting incredibly upset when people do these things. And yeah, there might be some like external factors that are causing them to miss the spells or whatever. But for the most part, it's just a mechanical error, and the person knows they made a mistake immediately. So they're probably not going to do it again.
Those are the trivial ones that you can ignore. Like that
Right.
That is, in my opinion, the baseline
Exactly.
for trivial. The mistakes where immediately the person knew that they did it wrong, and that there's no point in even talking about it because you already know. You just
Right.
need to not do that.
Yep. And I wanted to say that I think one of the biggest things that people do, and we've gotten this question a lot about like how should I watch replays to learn? And I think something that both you and I have never actually said is watch the replay from your player perspective. Don't watch it from free camera.
Oh,
Because
God, yeah.
if you're watching it from free camera and trying to pick out the mistakes, there's like it's not really watching the game.
I gotta jump in here and say that this is also a big debate where a lot of people, they watch pro replays and they watch with all vision on, or they watch their own replays, like Donnie was saying, where they watch with all vision on, and it is super not the same thing to know literally where the entire enemy team is and be like, oh, Arteezy shouldn't be there. He shouldn't be farming there. The enemy team's there. You need to be able to identify the signs with lack of information. Like, okay, everybody's missing for 30 seconds. I feel like I'm going to get ganked right now. And then you leave. So that's what you should be doing when you're watching your replays is you watch, you think, okay, it's been 15 seconds, people are missing. I was waiting 20 seconds in the game or whatever it was. Like, okay, in the future, I need to make my clock a little bit quicker. I need to assume that if people are missing for this amount of time, I need to make that smaller because I died in this game as a result. And then you try that, and then maybe that'll start working. Maybe it needs to be even quicker. Maybe that'll make you better, and then you need to adjust. But the most important thing is that you're watching from your perspective and making adjustments based on what your instincts were in the game and how they were wrong, basically. It's like, okay, I thought that I could get the CS without dying. They came a lot quicker. In the future, I'm going to try to push waves out quickly. And you just keep making those adjustments. And eventually you get to a point where it just works. And that's Dota. It eventually becomes instinct for you, and you don't even need to think about it. And that's what you want to build when you're looking at your replays. Anyway, sorry.
No, that's a really good point. And I think one of the most important things is not to be overcritical of these sort of like even the deaths necessarily. Like if you die 15 times in a game, obviously that's not good, but the death is not the problem. It's what led up to that. And that's why watching from your perspective is so important. And for me, as somebody who just lost 900 MMR over the last month, I was not playing any worse mechanically. I was probably playing as well or better mechanically just because I am very warmed up to the game. But what I finally figured out that I wasn't doing is I had just developed a bad habit of being fucking lazy. And this happens after a long time of playing the game and the same game over and over. Maybe you get a little apathetic. Maybe you have a bad teammate. Maybe you're playing tired and you just do a couple things poorly. And then if you don't fix them, they become habitual. And that's what happened to me is I basically stopped checking the map enough. Like literally 900 MMR was lost over a month because I stopped checking what my teammates' items were.
Another similar thing to that is when people are lazy, they don't like click on enemies enough either.
Yep,
and they don't
exactly.
see what items. And it's something so simple like that helps you identify to make a decision.
Yep,
And
that's
those decisions are what are important. It's having information
exactly
so you can make decisions.
Is I kind of just stopped clicking on people, enemies some, but my teammates more than anything else, because in a pub there's zero communication most of the time.
Correct.
And so you need to get the communication by just clicking on them, be like, oh, this person doesn't have an ultimate, obviously we shouldn't take a fight now, or this carry who I thought was completely shit actually bought the correct item and now we can actually fight,
or this guy's really close to BKB, we shouldn't take a fight, things like that.
Yep. And so what had happened to me is that I had like a couple bad games, as it always starts on a losing streak. I had a couple bad games. I just assumed that my teammates were trash. And every game, I just assumed that my teammates were going to be bad. And so I just defaulted every time that we started off with a bad game to split pushing and playing solo Dota. And I wouldn't click on my teammates' item progression to see if they were building the correct stuff. Because I would just assume this game's fucking unwinnable if we take a fight before 30 minutes. When in reality, sometimes they were actually making good decisions. Sometimes the fight were good. And sometimes I should have showed up to the fight because it was a good timing for us to take a fight. And I would just continue split pushing. And eventually we would lose the game because we would just not take the fights that we needed to come back into the game. And this just happened to me consistently over the course of like 150 games. And I just now realized it. And surprise, surprise, I'm like 8-1 in my last 9 games. because I'm just like clicking on people and gathering information in a non-lazy way all of a sudden.
I've actually had a similar experience recently. Laziness, realized that I'm actually shit and actually lazy. Started being less lazy, only playing when I actually have the energy to be less lazy. And I think over the past few days, since the matchmaking patch, I have like a literal 90% win rate. I went from 6,900 to 7,200, which that's a pretty tough climb. That's a hard bracket. Like, yeah, you really have to be on point. One final note, just going back to the main question, is that I know that from most of the professional players that I've spoken to and people that I know that have played on like tier 1 teams, people like Gunner, Nusham, things like that. I've never I don't speak too much to like too many tier 1 players about this sort of thing. They're also very secretive about this sort of information. But the tier 2 players, oh fuck man, they spill the beans. So basically most of these guys say that the tier 1 players will typically look at the one mistake that led to everything else happening in the game and then just try to fix that and ignore past that point. I've tried to do that in coaching too. Whenever I coach people, which by the way, I'm doing coaching, coachman.com/Jenkins. Donnie is too. What's yours? Elevated Alchemy? He'll get it for you. Anyway, usually it's like, okay, at this point, the way that we were supposed to play this lane was like this. We had a lane that's supposed to pressure. The whole draft is based around the fact that this lane is supposed to pressure. And if you fucked up and you didn't apply pressure, well, then it doesn't matter what happens after that point, because the intent, the strategy was to have that lane apply pressure. And if you were just wrong about that, if the lane actually can't apply pressure, then it's a bad draft and your strategy was just incorrect. So that's basically what I would say is that the earlier the better. Those are usually going to be the more impactful decisions, or bad decisions are the ones that you made early. And then just look at the very first point where things go south. And then after that, you're just playing recovery mode, right? That's just instinct recovery mode Dota. But the way that you want to play Dota is not just all based on instinct. You want to have you want to have a strategy going into the game. And the moment that strategy falls apart, yes, of course, there's cool shit that you can do and people are instinctual, but that doesn't matter anywhere near as much as the strategy, because if you just follow through with a good strategy, it'll work. So the earlier the better, and also only look at the very first mistake. I always have to tell people this in coaching, and it's always a tad bit awkward when they want to look at the 50 minutes into the game, and it's like, man, if you are planning to go 50 minutes into the game and play Dota, that's why you're 3.5k MMR. And I don't mean that in a rude way. I literally mean there are so many points in the game that you can win before that point, and so few games get to 50 plus minutes that if you're focusing on winning those games, you're focusing on winning like 2% of games. So of course you're not gaining MMR. Where you can win the most games is by destroying a laning stage and then snowballing, or after that making good rotations out of the laning stage and then snowballing off of that, or by playing really well in team fights, which team fights happen all the time in Dota, and sometimes you can even sacrifice a lane in order to have heroes that are good at team fighting. There's a lot of ways that you can win Dota, but you just want to have a strategy, a way that you think that you're going to win the game, and then the moment that breaks down, think about why that broke down and then focus on that. That's it.
Yeah, even a hero like Naga or Spectre or Anti-Mage is supposed to win the game around the 30 or 35 minute mark if you are playing the game perfectly.
Yeah.
So there's this whole misconception that's like, oh, I'm just playing a super slow game because I picked Naga. It doesn't matter. Like the first 25 minutes or 30 minutes of the game doesn't matter. That is so incorrect. Like you should always be trying to end the game now, if possible, by getting an advantage.
I do want to say the word. I know you said it. You said the word perfectly just because like you're kind of hyperbolizing. You mean like. There's a point that you can win the game really early, even on these like super late game heroes. That's what you meant. But I think a lot of people do actually think that a strategy where you need to play perfectly is equivalent to a strategy that's easy to execute. And I think that's super incorrect. Once again, I'm not saying that you said that. I know that you weren't, but that just reminded me that people have this misconception as well, where they're like, oh, this was so easy. We just needed to do this, and then they list off something that's like incredibly hard to do, and it's like, man, if you're trying to win games off of the back of some incredibly hard strat, and everybody else is just doing easy to execute shit, why are you making your life so hard? You know, it's like basically what I'm saying is, with a good strategy, with good gameplay, there should be many different opportunities for you to win the game. If not, then you have drafting issues, and then that's gonna be your main problem. Because God, I didn't get into an argument with this guy, but he said this, and I immediately muted him. So we picked some complete like dog trash heroes. We had like Bounty Hunter 5. We had like Ricky 4 or something, and then the bounty hunter was just like, man, I just need to get my Aghanim Scepter, and then like an Octarine Core, and then I'm gonna be able to kill all of these guys at like 60 minutes into the game. And it's like, man, if you're picking a Bounty Hunter 5 and trying to win the game at 60 minutes into the game, I don't even know what to say to you. You're just making life so hard. It's like trying to eat cereal with chopsticks and be like, fuck. Oh, my life is so difficult. Like, you're making it difficult.
Such liquid. Why can't I pick up milk with my chopsticks?
Dude, here's what it's like. It's like trying to eat cereal with chopsticks, and then instead of just being like, wow, I need to use a spoon, be like, oh, I need to reinvent the chopsticks so that they're straws as well as chopsticks. It's like, yeah, that would technically work, but what the fuck?
Right.
Yes, it would work. I don't know what to say after that point.
The great thing about Dota is that there's so many tools available to you in the game. Just pick the correct tool and you probably will be able to win the game.
God.
Yeah.
When people say things that are like technically true but so irrelevant, it's like, oh, I see why you believe that, because it's technically true, and you're just assigning like truth value is all that matters to you. Like, you're not leveling, you're not considering what has more levels of importance. Anyway.
Yeah, the last pub that I played, actually, I picked Wyvern 5. We had a tiny carry, and our offlaner was just like AFK during the draft, and so he didn't pick until the last. And
dude, why are my teammates so bad? Because
they picked a Timbersaw
during the draft, dude. That's why.
They picked a Timbersaw into our tiny carry, and I was like, Tiny, you got to go bottom. We got to aggro try. We can't lane into Timbersaw. There's just no way to play this lane. And I was like, all right. So our offlaner needs to go safe lane, and he didn't object. And then he picks Quap, offlane Quap, and goes to our safe lane and dies within the first minute and 30 seconds of the game to Timbersaw and Nature's Prophet. And then he TPs to the bottom lane. So now we have tiny carry and offlane Quap in the bottom lane with 2 supports. He doesn't say anything. He just TPs there. And I was just like, the fuck is going on? So luckily, I had 2 people on my team.
I'm not gonna lie. I would lose my mind if that happened.
And apparently, I actually had him pre-muted, and he was just like complaining about how hard the lane was. Yes, that's your job, dude. You just have to soak up this bad lane and not feed. So what ended up happening is, luckily, 2 of the people on my team were like positive. They were positive enough to be like, all right, I guess Wyvern, you go play 3. Like, you're a core now. I was like, okay. So I ended up playing offlane Wyvern as queued as a 5 role, while our Quap and Tiny lane together bottom. And I just like sat up top and did Quap's job. We ended up winning the game in like 50 minutes. But again,
I hate when people lose their lane and then they TP to like a winning lane and then they lose that as well. It's like, excuse me, sir. You realize that the sun, the sun and the fucking solar system and galaxy doesn't revolve around you? Oh, I thought the entire multiverse revolved around me, actually. Bastards, man. It's like, just go to your lane and feed, and then let the winning lanes carry you.
Yeah.
Just because you fucked up doesn't mean you have to fuck everybody else up.
Right. Like, it's okay to not have the best game of your life every game in Dota.
No. Dude, Queen of Pain. This guy needs to be the star of the show. Are you kidding me? Come on. He's the Tom Cruise doing like sick jumps off of like airplanes, saving the fucking sexy girl, and he's the star, man.
In some sense, it might have actually been for the best, because I don't think that he was going to get a vessel early, and neither was our disruptor, because he was like quite low rated. And so I just rushed a vessel and we ended up killing the Timbersaw like 5 times in the early game, and then that was that.
Timbersaws always seem to feed, don't they? You get the vessel, and then all of a sudden it's feed central.
Yeah, they own you for like 10 minutes, and then they're like, wait, why am I playing this hero? This hero's not fun anymore.
Yeah. All right. How many questions
All
we
right.
got left?
We've got quite a few, so we'll be a little faster.
Okay. Speed run.
Phasey, pronounced Fuzzy, has a second question. Neutral items get removed. Boom. What aspects of gameplay they brought or changed would you miss?
Supports having items.
Yeah.
That'll definitely be missed. I like that on supports you can like save money for one big item now because you just get all the garbage. I think that's cool. I would miss that, but to be honest, neutral items haven't changed much other than the fact that net worth doesn't really matter anymore.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I really would miss is that they allow you to sometimes skip items that you would normally have to buy. Like if you get an arcane ring and you need a mana regen item to make your hero function or farm, then you can often just like not get that item and just go straight to being a little bit greedier.
Yeah,
so
I guess it
cool.
makes games like a little diverse in terms of like what you're building.
Yeah.
I love getting one of the cooldown reduction items on Puck, and then you have permasilence with the level 20 talent. Because sometimes I'll go Octarine Core because I want the permasilence. I want to force people to be KB.
There you go.
You don't need it. It's nice.
All right. Next question. Is Dota Alchemy in decline? Videos are fewer now. Jenkins is working on videos for his own YouTube site, and GameFlip Patreon page isn't updated since mid-December. What's going on over there?
Good question. You want to answer
Good
this
question.
one, Donnie?
I mean, if you want me to.
Yeah, go for it.
Sure. Well, at least from my side, I'll let you chime in with your own opinion, but both of us have just kind of gotten very burnt out with producing a video a day for almost 2 years now. And what goes into that process of having to grind games, not play Dota as anything fun, basically playing Dota as a job to try and glean information to create videos from. And sometimes being creative is actually kind of hard, and you just are like, all these video ideas are trash. I don't want to put out a trash piece of content, but I have to put out a piece of content. So then you do something suboptimal and it doesn't do very well, and you're like, okay, this isn't very fun. Also, we don't make very much money, and that's always just a constant source of stress in our lives. And we do this because we like what we do, but after a while of constantly being stressed about money, living paycheck to paycheck, it gets kind of annoying. So we got a little burnt out. We kind of like just gradually decided to take a little bit of time off, especially over the holidays. And then we had an interesting business opportunity that we were kind of pursuing and are no longer pursuing, at least for now. And so going forward, we are going to probably be posting more regularly. We're going to be actually trying to do a bit more of a schedule so people can get used to what's coming out next on each day. And we'll probably not be doing 7 days a week of content. We'll be moving
not
to more
like
5 or 6.
Yeah, not like 7 unique, just totally brand new video ideas per week. Because that's yes. We're going to be more structured. We're basically trying to be more professional with it.
We're trying to reduce our personal stress and enjoyment and increase our enjoyment of the process of running this channel by removing a bit of the work, because we were just working way too hard, and we're trying to work a little bit smarter in terms of how we're approaching stuff and just focusing on what is our best content, what we can produce the best and most consistently, and trying to like create a system to where we can keep Dota Alchemy running and keep the standard high, but also have a little bit more time for like life. Because I mean, I don't know if people realize, but both you and I have probably been doing 14 hours a day on Dota Alchemy ish, including grinding pubs.
I mean, if you include pubs, yeah.
But it's a lot of fucking work. Like it's not like we're getting paid, $100K a year to work really hard. We're getting paid like just enough to pay our bills and survive.
I gotta say, my burnout is more something that I don't currently feel burnt out. I have in the past. It's not
Yeah.
really videos. It's just grinding. It's anything. Like I would get the same thing from
Sure.
tournaments, from and I currently don't feel burnt out, but my current motivation in like what we're doing with Dota Alchemy is basically we need to structure things.
Yeah.
And the reason that I'm posting on my own channel is that the unstructured stuff where I just have a random video idea and I just want to do something and I don't know if it's going to do well. I'm going to put that on my channel where it can kind of, if I put it on Dota Alchemy, it's like I feel like it has to be up to a certain standard almost.
Yep.
You know, it has to be a certain. I would like for Dota Alchemy to essentially be something where I'm posting. We've had this idea. We've jumped on and off of this idea in the past, but we would love to do like video series where it's like every week it's the same series. Yeah, exactly. It has to fit a brand. And for my channel, it's like I want to be able to have a channel that I cannot post on for a week just because I don't have any video ideas, and that's fine. Whereas with Dota Alchemy, I want that to be something that we can do every week. You know what I mean? And that's something that has to have structure. So that's why we've been kind of I guess like slacking with the videos lately, is because we're working out some things with like sponsors and things like that to get these series going basically. And I have a video. I had a video for Monday, but I had to get it reviewed by a sponsor. So we're kind of working on getting the business stuff down, I suppose, behind the scenes. But we should have. I legitimately think this isn't just like some PR thing or HR, whatever you want to say. I legitimately think that having more structured content will result in way better content. You know what I mean? Like having series that we can build on and improve upon. Like Heroes of the Week, for example. That's something that I have so many notes on for like how I do it and how I write it. And I don't know if it makes it any better or worse, but it definitely feels easier for me to make it, even though at first it was something that took me a really long time. And if it's easier for me, that means I can spend more time doing production, getting better clips, things like that. So like the quality will increase. But yeah, that's basically it. Reasons.
Yeah. I mean, that's really what it comes down to is your favorite series. I mean, everybody's probably favorite series, stuff like tier lists, stuff like Heroes of the Week, stuff like Meta Report. That's just going to become like all of the content essentially that we're putting out, in addition to like the podcast and the replay review stuff as well. And we'll probably do a little bit of deviation here and there.
Sure,
but for the most part,
we always do.
For the most part, it's just going to be like, these are the series that we are known for and that everybody likes and that are consistently good and that we can consistently put out to keep you guys updated. And then everything else, it's like we can also develop our own little personal brand as well. Because like at the end of the day, we might not be doing Dota Alchemy 20 years from now, but we might want to have our own personal brand as well that's within gaming sphere, and that would be probably a good idea to start developing at some point in our lives.
That's also definitely a worry for me, is that like, let's say Dota does go down the doo-doo hole, then that sounded a lot more vulgar than I intended it. But let's say Dota goes down the drain. I would like to have Dota Alchemy seems to be something that's very restricted to Dota. If I want to like post some videos on maybe, I don't know, the next game, maybe the next MOBA, I don't know. It's like a few years from now. That's kind of the thought. I don't know how that would work. I've never pivoted like that or transitioned. I've always been in Dota, at least in the sense of being like a content creator. I've never really done that for anything else. I did do it for World of Warcraft though. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe it would work. But anyway, that's why we would need our own personal brands. That's the answer. Convoluted, long answer. Save Dota.
All right. Moving on.
Keeps calling me handsome and things like that. It's good stuff.
Moving on. Turnout. The question is, what should I do as a hard support Shadow Shaman while safe lane carry is an Underlord?
As a what? A hard support shaman?
Yeah. Get creative, man. Kill them in lane. Pull. Just control the wave.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, the hero can tank under tower just so easily. Just pull, give him total solo XP, and then at a certain point, he can just walk up with plus 100 damage because of his aura and punch people. You can kill people with him. You just need some levels.
Totally.
That's it.
And if you're concerned about him not carrying enough, then just like take a bunch of farm.
Sure.
Get Ag's Refresher and win the game by yourself. Shiver, thoughts on Ogre mid? I've seen it at my low tier a few times. Now got dumpstered by it once and crushed him in the most recent time. What do you think about Ogre mid?
No, I mean, I'd be very concerned. I think it's a meme. I think that you're gonna get owned by any real mid hero. Like, consider an Ogre versus an OD.
That sounds awful.
What happens if OD has the same net worth as a super farmed mid Ogre? Which one of those heroes would you rather have on your team? I would say the OD could probably 1v5. Like, if you have a 20,000 net worth Ogre, 20,000 net worth OD, probably the OD is pretty scary. The Ogre, he's got an Ags, he's tanky. Cool. I think Ogre does a lot less.
Not only that, but like,
laner to do.
If you just even think about the laning stage, like, okay, cool, you're tanky.
To some heroes.
Like
Ogre versus Quap, Ogre versus
Do you
OD.
push the tower if they leave? No. Do you rotate? No. Do you farm the jungle? No. Like, you don't do anything. You literally are fat.
Yeah. Basically, he doesn't do enough of the stuff that mid laners do. You don't ultra fast farm the jungle like a Magnus. Like Donnie said, you don't push the tower. You can't take their jungle. You can't really pressure them. You just stun them every time it's off cooldown. Yeah, it sounds like a meme. It sounds like people are probably just dying to Fire Blast. And if you just don't, like, it's like a Skywrath mid. If you just don't give a Skywrath mid kills, you just laugh at them 20 minutes later when you have items and they don't, because they don't do anything other than kill people.
Yep. I concur. Positive Vibes asks, question for Donnie. Ha, Jenkins. Take that.
Positive vibes, more like negative vibes, bastard.
You had a pretty big jump in MMR recently. I guess this is referring to several months ago because it was a negative jump in MMR recently.
Maybe he's just insulting you.
What did you change in your approach? No, he just wanted to tell a joke. What did you change in your approach to learning Dota to help you elevate your rank? Like what I did there? Lol. All laughing aside, it's a serious question, smiley face.
Nice.
So obviously I talked about what I've been doing wrong and why I lost all this MMR, but yeah, maybe like right before the holidays or something like that, I went from Divine 1 to Divine 5 very quickly or something. I can't remember. Anyway, and then I calibrated Divine 5 like 40%, almost immortal. And essentially all I did is I just started following my own advice. If I'm going to give you the straightforward answer, is I've been making a lot of videos with good advice and I haven't been following it myself. I've been tilting. I have been picking way too many heroes. I've been playing all sorts of different roles. I have been lazy in my play. And so for the period of time that I was gaining ranks very quickly, I was essentially just playing one role over and over and over with a subset of maybe 5 to 10 heroes that I consider good enough to be in my hero pool and pickable. And I would play between 3 and 5 games a day maximum, pretty much every day, important. And only play when I really wanted to play, which is most of the time. And as soon as I didn't want to play the game, I would stop and I would take breaks in between each game and go do like push-ups or walk around or get a drink of water and evaluate how I felt. Because usually after I finish a game, I would immediately feel like playing a game of Dota again because I'd still be like high from the last win. But getting up and sometimes walking around and I'd be like, I'm actually kind of tired of thinking about Dota right now, like 2 minutes later. And then I'd come back and close the game and do something else. So that's literally all I did.
I can tell you the literal number one way of getting better at Dota right now. Play Dota when you're happy.
Yep.
That's it. Play Dota when your mind is in a positive state. Apparently, I was doing some research a few days ago. Apparently, there's some good information out there, some good research that shows if you are in a negative or neutral mindset, you will perform to like 66% of your potential. 66%. Imagine the difference between 66% of a Dota player and a 100% Dota player. If we take 66% of my MMR, it's 4K. It's like 4.5K. And the difference between a 4.5K player and a 7.2K player is staggering. I mean, that's like the difference between a herald and like a legend or an ancient, right? It's
probably even more than that.
it's ludicrous. So just think about all the matches of Dota you've lost because you played when you were tired, you were hungry, you were upset, you didn't really want to play. You were playing at 10 p.m. instead of, right when you got home from work where your mind was still fresh and ready to go. Just don't play Dota when you're shit. That's it. Literally that's it. There's a lot of good reasons for it. Beyond just performing better, like the playing Dota when you're happy, the happiness hormone that's dopamine, right?
Yeah, I'll link the TED Talk that this is from.
It's really good shit. This is Harvard psychology stuff here. It's not bullshit. Dopamine will put your brain into a learning mode. And if you play Dota when you're happy, you will actually learn more when you're playing Dota. And within a game, that matters. And then from game to game, that obviously matters. Like, you'll get better quicker, but within the game, there are things you need to, like, the most important part of that is there are things that you need to learn within the game and then change okay, this guy killed me. I need to like kill him in the next fight, as opposed to it taking you 2 or 3 deaths to realize that. It is ludicrous the amount of shit there is out there, and it's cascading too. It is cascading.
Uber Smooch says, I'm not condoning this at all, but I took a psychedelic over the holidays with some friends, and I came back home full of ideas for Dota and was playing less anxious and nervous, and my playing just felt better in general because I was less depressed. There's a reason that psilocybin is very close to being legalized in several states, because clinical studies are showing that it reduces depression, like almost across the board. So not surprised if that's the one that you took, but generally psychedelics, if you have a good experience, have that.
How do you play Dota if you're never happy? That's a good question. Watch that TED Talk. There are ways you can train your brain.
Yeah.
To be happy.
Yeah.
You're a microdoser. Yeah, I hear that's good. Go to the gym. Yeah, go to the gym. Drink lots of water. Okay, I know this podcast has been going on forever, but I do want to say we got
so many questions left still.
There are some severely underrated shit that you can do every day that, because they're so underrated but so high value, like people don't do them. Like, for instance, getting some sun. That's important. Vitamin D, that helps your bones. Going for walks. That's solid. That's the number one predictor of what?
His butt. Sorry, my dog.
Oh, your dog
he's got a muddy ass butt.
Are you sure that's mud?
I'm positive it's mud. I could be shit, but
okay.
Well, I've got shitty fingers, so
nothing changed. But going for walks is the number one predictor of these places that they call blue zones, which is where like a lot of people live over 100. I think it's like the average person lives over 100, and 90% of the people in these blue zones go for walks. They're very active walkers. But I don't know why it's like this. Since I sound like the fucking Joker, but in society we don't value these things, like simple things like drinking water, literally just going for walks. It's ridiculous. Like small things like that legitimately help, but people don't do them, not because they're not important, but because people don't talk about it.
I'm not gonna lie. A couple podcasts ago, I went through like my routine of what it takes to like have a good day of Dota, because there was some question about that, and I really think that my number 1 and 2 things are like going for a walk early in the morning and like meditating, which is kind of the same thing sometimes. Yes. Like you can walk. And it's really important not to be like listening to a podcast or something like that while you're walking. Just like go for a walk outside and just like experience yourself for like 15 minutes every day. And I come back and I'm just like, holy shit, I was thinking about so much random garbage that it's no longer bothering me.
A lot of people don't give themselves time and credit to just order all of the shit inside their head. Like, people don't actually have time thinking to themselves. There are weeks where I'll just go for my computer, I'll play my Switch, I'll go back to my computer, I'll go to bed, I'll wake up, I'll go to the computer. I'm like always doing something. And then I realized I have these, I mean, this is going to sound really sad, but there was a while back there where my aunt unfortunately passed away because of cancer. And I was performing really shit in Dota, and my videos were tanking, you know, not getting any views. And what made me have the turnaround was literally giving myself time to like process it. You know what I mean? I just like the first moment I had where I wasn't distracted by shit, I just like felt it all at once, you know, and I was like pissed and I was upset, and I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I thought about why it bothered me. I thought about what I was missing, what I'd never see again, you know, like all of that sort of shit. And I had a complete turnaround within a few days, because I actually let myself like feel shit. I feel like there's so much time we spend just looking at shit, looking at screens, looking at our phone, Googling stuff, sitting on Reddit. And sometimes you actually just need to have nothing. You need to be doing nothing, because your brain needs to not be taking in new information. It needs to be processing the information that's already in there.
Yeah, that's actually one of the reasons why I kind of love manual labor low key. Like, just if you're like chopping wood or like gardening or like even just like vacuuming or cleaning your house or something like that kind of stuff is just so good for you, because you're not doing anything else with your brain other than just kind of like watching your body do stuff.
I've recently said this to my dad, actually. Like I said to him, like, man, I actually like doing dishes sometimes.
Yeah.
For the longest time, I was like, I don't give a fuck about dishes. I'll just do them all at once. I'm going to ignore all of my parents' complaints and suggestions to like, just get up and do them, and don't let it pile up. And then it's turned around to the point where it's like, I actually like doing it because it's so simple. It's just something so simple that my brain can focus on. That's not like, oh, am I gonna go to TI as a caster, as a player? Oh man, am I gonna create like the best content? What if Dota dies? Oh man, we're getting these like business opportunities that we're figuring out. There's lots of potential money on the line, that I've never in my life seen before. Like that's like so much shit, and then you're just like, oh, there's a little piece of grease there. I'll get that off. You know, it's so simple. And I told that to my dad, and he was actually like, man, I'm really glad you said that to me, because I feel like you're finally growing up, understanding. I never got that before. I never got that doing like manual labor, doing something as simple and as boring as dishes could actually be kind of cathartic, because life is so fucking complicated and that shit's so easy. And yet it still has a pretty good impact on making your life better. It feels good. It's a little bit of a dopamine rush for doing something so simple, you know?
Yeah, totally.
I've been playing, man. This is a huge mistake. I've been playing Cuphead right before I go to bed. I've been getting off of Dota, and the way I relax, I play Cuphead on expert mode, and I try to beat the bosses perfectly without
You're just like hyping your brain back up.
Yeah, it's so bad. And I stopped doing that. Now I'm playing Minecraft, and there's like the soft, like really kind of quiet, like orchestral music or whatever in the background, and it's so peaceful and it's so easy, and it's like, man, what have I been doing to my brain? You know?
Dude, some of my best content that I've ever made was written in a hammock during the summer, where I'd just go outside with like a notepad and a pen and no real expectations, and I would just sit in a hammock and like take a nap, and then I'd like wake up or just like be listening to like the wind, and then all of a sudden I'd be like, whoa, I should make a video about this, because that's a really interesting concept. And I'd write the entire script just like by hand on a notepad while I'm just like sitting outside on a hammock. Because it's like, if you get out of your own way, a lot of the time, like your actual creativity and skill and all the things you've accumulated in your life will be able to actually like express themselves, because you're not like judging everything constantly.
The TLDR is your brain is a brain. And don't expect yourself to be able to do shit that's inhuman. You're human. Don't feel bad about it. Just try to work with it.
Yep. All right. Sorry for going so long in this podcast, guys, but we've been talking about some good stuff. So next question is from JFKWT. Sorry, the last one. Oh, it was from Positive Vibes. JFKWTS, suggestion for 1 to 2 hard supports to learn. I'm 3K based on Dota buff. Vengeful Spirit still has the highest win rate across all brackets, followed by what I think is Dazzle, Bad and Warlock, Zeus, Treant, in descending order. I'm thinking of focusing on 1 or 2 to get better after CM and Shaman seem to have gotten shafted by win rate. I'm looking to maximize my time on VS and ABBA. I don't think I have time to learn, say, Snapfire. I would probably not pick ABBA personally, and I would probably not pick Venge either, despite what the win rates might tell you.
Damn, dude, Dota 2 Pro Tracker's down. Can you load it?
Let me see. Right now, I would pick 2 supports to learn that are going to be good in many patches to come just because of their skill set are Disruptor,
Wyvern,
and Winter Wyvern. Those 2. I think you could also substitute Wyvern out for CM. Despite you don't think CM is good win rate wise, I think that CM is one of the best supports to learn just because
she
is always viable for her team because of how the mana regeneration
Disruptor's like that too.
Yep.
Yeah, these are good heroes. Lich is a great hero to learn as well.
Yeah, the hero's kind of boring to play.
Tree is broken. Yeah, Lich is easy though. It's an easy one.
Yeah, I can't load Dota 2 Pro Tracker either.
God, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
But yeah, I would say those 2, and you could also maybe learn Jakiro. I think Jakiro has a place as well, and is pretty relevant in a lot of games.
Definitely.
Okay, Dat Brorito says, so my question is about Puck. I've recently had a pretty good time using the hero mid and feel like the nerfs may have hardly affected my playstyle. It's good. What makes Puck so good? I feel like no matter what, I basically never lose lanes and always end up having impact, but don't really understand why.
What makes Puck so good?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Puck is bullshit. We'll just say that. 200 cast range talent, level 10. Really ridiculous. It means that you don't need a blink on a hero that's always needed a blink. Coil is one of the best disables in the game, if not the best disable in the game. It might actually be the best. It is just absolutely insane. Even when they get BKB, you just get nags. They get a Satanic. Doesn't matter. Coil still lasts 6 seconds. The stun will last not very long. You can get that still lasts really long because the Ags is bullshit. You can get a refresher and you can double coil people. The hero, I would say like the main reason Puck is bullshit is because the new little silence thingy where you can jump as well as the cast range talent means that you don't need a blink and you're impossible to catch. On top of that, the phase shift attack talent is really good. Puck has one of the best level 30s in the game. You can basically, Puck can get 12 slotted because you have all of these items and you get to level 30 and then you get the 420 gold talent, level 20, 25, and then you get 6 new items like Rapier, Satanics, things like that. And then Puck is a right clicker. Puck will eventually become the hard carry and has enough gold to do that while also functioning as a playmaker throughout the entire game. That's such bullshit. That's not
and
okay.
Being harder to kill than Slark.
Yeah, it's not okay. And doing it more damage than Slark too. Like Puck does an insane amount of damage. They need to nerf Coil. The cooldown is too short for what it does. You coil anybody, they die. When I gank a lane on Puck, doesn't matter how farmed they are, they die. Even if I'm just a shitty level 6 offlane Puck. The silence, it's way too good. You get the silence talent, you perma-silence at level 20. Puck just does way too much. Puck is like a giga hero. Puck does way too much. The talents give you extra spells worth of power, and other talents are like, ooh, 20 attack speed. Wow! How interesting. And then Puck is like, yeah, your phase shift now AoE attacks. Okay, so if I get a Mjolnir, that means it does the Mjolnir on everything. If I get a Deso, it does Deso on everything. If I get a Grove Bow, it does the 12% magic resistance reduction on everything, which means I don't have to go for the other talent, by the way, because it's only 15% magic amplification. It's such bullshit. It's such complete bullshit. That's why Puck is good.
Yeah, and also just the fact that you're arguably the most mobile hero in the entire game. You clear waves instantaneously for the entire game once you have several levels in your skills.
Yeah, that's true.
And
while being impossible to kill too.
Yeah, you're impossible to kill, and you're also an amazing team fighter. So basically, you just do every job that you could potentially need a hero to do in the game of Dota, and you do them all well.
Yep, if not the best. It's a ridiculous hero.
Yep. Hakillionaire says, why is that hero Why is that a hero will be labeled dog tier or mediocre at best during a certain patch, then a minor or major comes along and some teams start winning with him, and all of a sudden the same hero is labeled god tier? It happens from patch to patch sometimes too, when a hero doesn't necessarily get any buffs, and all of a sudden his skills get described as god when previously spoken as of not that great. Sorry, go ahead.
That's actually why I try to avoid talking about the hero skills whenever I'm describing things as like dog or S tier. Just because I feel what you're saying, where like whether it's bad or good, basically Dota 2 content creators can just read the skills and then it's content. You know, it's like, yeah, this hero's bad. Listen to what these skills do. But you're kind of just saying that the skills are bad because the hero is bad, not the other way around. So I try to be better with that, but it is a little hard. And I would say that to give you an example, and I think I saw somebody ask this question earlier, I labeled Enchantress as dog shit tier, and it's getting picked up a decent amount in the tournament, the current tournament that's going on, the major. And I agree, it's actually decent. I don't think it's that good, but it's decent. And the reason for that is because if you were to literally read the skill, as I said, read the skill and describe that the hero is shit because the skill is shit, you would be correct. Because if you read Enchant, it doesn't say numerous things that it does. Like, did you know Enchant gives creeps like plus 70 damage? Did you know that Enchant gives creeps plus 1500 HP? I didn't. It doesn't say it in the skill. I had no idea. It literally only says that in the change logs. So pro players have started using the creeps to push out lanes, and Enchantress has always had issues shoving out lanes. So now you can use a creep to do it that has mega damage, mega HP, and lasts 120 seconds. So that's why Enchantress is pretty decent. But everything else,
one of the only heroes that can still get the purple satyr at level 1.
Yeah. Everything else that I said about Enchantress that in the video where I said she's dog shit is still true. Her laning is still, you just need salves. She's way easier to kill in the laning stage. It's just that when you take a hero that does all of these things decently and then give them something they couldn't do before, they become possibly really good. Like Shadow Fiend, for example. Basically the same hero. They kept buffing all of the same things about him. Strength gain, agi gain, like 5 times they increased it. It's still bad. And then finally, when they give him a disable, he's all of a sudden good because he lacked disables. So that's basically you'll see people do things in these tournaments using the new skills that you couldn't do before with these heroes, and that's what makes it good. However, I still think that Enchantress as an offlaner is like B tier at best. I don't think it's that good, even with I think it's too punishable in the laning stage, in my opinion. I'd much rather have some Puck or some Underlord that's like insanely tanky or something like that. But with that being said, I mean, that's the Enchantress example. You asked why these things change, and it's just because you see pro players do certain things that you didn't think were possible, and it's like, okay, with that possibility, this seems actually pretty broken.
Yeah, basically, I actually answered this and then deleted it because I wanted to answer it on the podcast. But there's also a whole lot of overreaction that happens. We've seen this time and again where a hero will get nerfed, people will stop picking it for like 2.5 weeks, and then all of a sudden they'll be like, wait, this hero's actually still really good. Happened with OD. Everybody's like, oh, the new OD ultimate is terrible. And then somebody came up with the Ags build, and now the hero is still the best mid in the game, potentially. Like, this happens all the time. People see their favorite hero nerfed, they get depressed, they look for like 10 other heroes to play, they realize that none of those heroes is good because their inherent skill set is still the same and not good. And then they go back to the hero that previously was really good because its inherent skill set was really good, and they figure out how to play that hero slightly differently, and it's amazing. Same thing with Lifestealer. Lifestealer's always been good. They keep nerfing the hero, but now instead of building Radiance every single game, you just go for Maelstrom first item, and it's still the same hero, does the same thing basically, but he's just a little bit faster. Like, it keeps happening over and over. There's so much overreaction, and before you write off a hero that gets nerfed, just read it, try out a couple of things. Like, don't panic anytime there's a nerf, and don't overreact anytime there's a buff to a hero. And just realize that like the core of most of these heroes does not change from patch to patch, even if their numbers are shifted fairly significantly. Also, sometimes you don't even realize what the combos are. Sometimes you don't realize what the build is. And once those things come to light, people are like, oh, holy shit, these 2 heroes are being picked a lot. So these 2 heroes counter them like permanently. We just picked those 2 heroes. Now they're god tier heroes because these 2 heroes are in every game, and we have the 2 heroes that counter them. That's basically what it is.
Yeah, I agree.
Pogosaurus says, shout out to Hawkillionaire being featured in Speed's Guess the Rank video. Hopefully you didn't embarrass us, Hawkillionaire. That'd be really, really unacceptable.
Not in front of Speed Daddy, come on.
Let's chat about knowing when to buy which utility support items. Just some examples to prompt discussion. It's a very long question. But when are Greaves better than Spirit Vessel or Solar Crest versus Lotus Orb or Glimmer Cape versus Force Staff or Rod of Atos versus Yules or Shivas versus AC? These items seem so dependent on the draft, but would be better. But it would be great to have some kind of methodology for approaching how to decide. In a situation like Glimmer versus Force, you usually want both, but sometimes you have to pick one.
Well, there's a few things. Like, I like Glimmer if you have no invis on your team already and they have no invis reveal, like force them to buy dusts. Force Staff is really good if their entire team fight is like centered around one area. Like, for instance, Invoker.
A duel or Invoker, yeah.
So he casts all spells somewhere, like Underlord, he puts the pit down. Like, there's a lot of heroes that just, they put their stuff down in one place, and if you just move away from it, you're good. Single target stuff, Force Staff is really good against that. Like, if the enemy team like has to Beastmaster Roar somebody or grab somebody with like a Lion Hex to kill them, and you just force them out and then counter initiate, that's really good. What other utility items are there even on supports? It's like Glimmer and Force are like the main two, I think. Right?
Those are the main two, but some of the other examples were like Solar, Lotus Orb, Spirit Vessel. So for those three, let's take those. Spirit Vessel is basically like, I mean, it's usually a good item every game, just because there's almost always some tanky hero that can benefit from getting hurt. Being able to heal your teams on pushes is always nice. Of course, if there's a hero that has insane regen, it's like a mandatory Spirit Vessel game.
Vessel's good if you need more damage. Like, if you don't need more damage and you're building a Vessel, even like if you have a Terrorblade and the enemy team has like a Pudge and you're getting a Vessel for the Pudge, well, you have a Terrorblade, man. He's going to tear through the Pudge anyway, Like, that's when it would be a waste. And you'd rather just protect the guy who's already doing damage. Same with like Solar Crest. The same thing.
Solar Crest is slightly different because it's a little bit more utility. Like,
it's got
if you have one hero that you want to buff up, if you need a damage amp item, but there's also a lot of physical damage on the other team, then it's a really good item because it gives you armor. Or if you really need to
take Roche, like Roche is a big objective in the game. Yeah.
And Lotus Orb is like one of those where it's, you could go Lotus or Yules for the Dispel on yourself, which is like one of the primary reasons you get it. But then Lotus obviously is much better if you're against like a PA, whereas Yules is much better if you are a hero that wants to be mobile, that needs lots of mana, or you're against something like an Axe that gets completely owned by Yules.
Yules is necessary against Axe for sure. I would say like mostly if you're like a position 5 support, you should be building like almost purely to just save your team. I think if you're a pause 5 support and you're pause 4 and your other heroes are doing something wrong, if you need to be the one that's getting a Vessel or a Medallion or something like that, generally speaking, you'd really, if you look at the major, most position 5s are like rushing Force Staff or they're rushing Glimmer.
Ags if you're a disruptor.
Or Ags if you're a disruptor, yeah. That's because that's so effective on the hero in general. It's just ridiculous.
Yep.
But I
mean, even in that example, really just think about what is the most impactful or annoying thing for the hero to have if you were playing against it, and that's probably the item that you should buy.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, Winks asks, as a position 1 lifestealer, if your other core is having a good game and your team is able to fight 4v5 in the early game, then is it okay to rush Ags to support the other core, or should I still go carry damage items first?
On which hero?
Position 1 lifestealer.
I don't think you should ever rush Ags on position 1 lifestealer.
Yeah, that seems like you're trying to play offlane or support lifestealer as a 1.
I don't think you should ever do that. I think the build is always Maelstrom. The thing with carries these days is that carries, like the choices that you make, there aren't really choices in itemization too much. The game is dictated by your items. Everybody's building around you. So you just build what the good itemization is on the carry, and then other people should be building to support you, basically.
The one caveat I would have for this question is if your mid is a hard carry like Medusa, and your offlaner picked a hard carry in the offlane because they didn't actually want to play offlane, they wanted to play carry, like they're playing Void and going Midas or something like that. Then maybe, okay, you can just be the position 1 lifestealer, but you just play it as if you're the off laner and you've swapped lanes. That's like the only reason I would even consider that.
But then you would probably want to go like Vlad's and
yeah,
Armlet, maybe things like that, just smaller items, a bit kind of like utility items, maybe like a crest, maybe Heaven's Halberd as like an early item, something along those lines.
Yep. And our final question from the patrons this week is from Prime Operator. Welcome back to Dota, sir. He says, how to transition the early game to the mid game as a Bat Rider. I'm always dying a lot and getting my travels way too delayed.
Okay. I can kind of answer that because I've had this same issue. Basically, there's a period after the laning stage where you just fuck off to the jungle. You just get your travels ASAP because that hero is so much. I mean, ideally, you'd like to dominate the lane so hard that you just get the travels in the laning stage. But if you don't have the travels after the laning stage, you just be as greedy as possible. You don't fight unless the enemy team is diving, and you just get the travels because it'll be like 1,000 gold max before you get to the travels. So just farm it, and then that way you can do the playstyle of like sitting in the safe lane and being that kind of global presence that I'm sure you know how to play on Bat Rider, because that's the fun part. So basically, yeah, you need to take some me time, it sounds like. I had the same issue where it's like, all right, I'm going to be so much more effective if I have my travels right now than running around as a Boots Bat Rider, just Boots Bottle, and like epically trying to lasso people, and it's not going to work. Just get your travels. You're a god once you get travels, so just get them. It's like getting a blink on like Sand King or something. Don't fight until you have these items.
Yep.
That's it.
All right, that's the end of the questions. I'm going to take one from chat, which is, when do you think Slark is a viable mid? Is there any great matchup?
Melee heroes?
Yeah, basically. I was just going to say, it's a melee hero dominator at this point in the game. So it's like super good against, I mean, like Ember.
Ember, Kunkka.
Pretty good against Mag, actually.
Yeah, it's probably decent against Mag. Void Spirit, yeah, sure.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, really good against Void Spirit, actually. So, yeah, Storm even potentially in the laning stage, would you say? Or does Storm kind of own?
Probably an issue that Storm can put a Remnant.
Yeah, that makes sense. DK,
yeah,
definitely DK.
Yeah. Then again, I swear to God, every time I say that a hero like should own DK, I watch it in a pro match and then DK owns because he's just so goddamn tanky. But I don't know. It does sound pretty good against DK. Slark will definitely farm. Slark will do fine.
Yep.
DKs just have a habit of like winning the lane slightly, somehow, always. Even against like co-ops and stuff. Well, actually, that is a counter to co-op. Anyway.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for watching. This has been Alchemy Answers episode 63. Thank you, as always, to our patrons for supporting the channel. Patreon.com/Dota Alchemy if you want to become a patron and ask us questions every single week. I guess because we are, coming out with this new schedule, we've revealed that today. Tomorrow's video will be the two of us doing the carry tier list. So look for that, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you next time.
See you guys.